President Biden will need to calm the nerves of both foreign officials and members of his own party who have already expressed concerns about his fitness following both the G7 summit and the first presidential debate last month. So this big day comes as the Wall Street Journal reveals how Biden's inner circle worked to hide his aging on the world stage. The new report detailing a time that the president missed a meeting with the German chancellor because he had to go to bed. The article says, quote, German officials aware of Biden's fatigue at night sought to accommodate the president by planning a June 2022 event with German Chancellor Olaf Scholz in the early evening. Biden didn't show, surprising the chancellor and his aides. Instead, Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived and announced that Biden had to go to bed, according to two people who were there. The State Department, though, is denying that report, but an analysis of official transcript corrections of Biden's speaking errors has nearly doubled in the last year. In May alone, White House staffers had to make 51 corrections in official transcripts for times the president misspoke during his speeches and his remarks. That is compared to 33 corrections in June 2023. But meanwhile, House Democrats today will hold a restricted caucus meeting as calls for the president to step aside continue. But President Biden is ramping up efforts to save his reelection campaign. Last night, he met virtually with the Congressional Black Caucus, whose members are sticking by his side. Listen.
Sir, do you think he can do this for 4 more years after what you saw in the debate?
Yes.
Why is it, do you think, the CBC has become such a firewall for us?
Because we're the most loyal group of Democrats in Washington, bar none.
And you think black voters across the country are going to stay locked up with you guys?
The record speaks for itself.
Senate Democrats will also meet today for the first time since the debate, and some are distancing themselves from the president. Senate Majority Whip Dick Durbin, a longtime Biden ally, says his debate performance raised a lot of questions. And Senator Mark Warner is saying it is incumbent upon the president to more aggressively make his case to the American people. But the president, his campaign, and the White House are all insisting he will remain in the race. Guys?
Yeah, and I'm reminded today by President Biden's G20 press conference in Hanoi, where he said, I'm going to bed. Now we know that he also apparently said it to the German chancellor behind the scenes.
His words. Nobody's making that up. His words.
Brooke, thank you so much.
Let me tell you the story I heard from a local state trooper about Joe Biden riding on the Air Force One Cooper. His days were numbered, nobody wanted him around, so he took his cash and went out like D.B. Cooper. Run, Joe, run into the Amazon, take your wife and crackhead son. Maybe one day we find your fortune like F.J.B. Cooper. Join us in the hunt for truth and light. At the Benny Show, targets in sight. Run, Joe, run into the Amazon. Take your wife and crackhead son. Maybe one day we find your fortune like F.J.B. Cooper.
We are raising the levels around here, baby. Got that AOC Hype Energy at a rally in the Bronx with 12 people. Oh, man, that gets the people going. What was that? Just blew my mind. Can we get that ready to play? Like, that was like art. This is like a Hollywood movie trailer. Jerry, you're a genius. This is amazing. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for supporting our program. You support art like this. The art. We have artists who work at this show. Artists. That meme was incredible. Look at the chat. The chat is melting down right now. Jerry, that meme, that is amazing. You owe me a phone call. I got to figure out how you did that. That's remarkable. Baby, we are ready to go. Locked and loaded. I like the eagle that's hunting in the jungle. What's that even from? We have too much fun on this program. We have illegal amounts of fun, okay? Joe Biden's, his last act as they claw Jill away from because it's actually Jill, as they claw Jill away from the Resolute desk, her fingernails scraping and scratching the top of the desk, right? The Secret Service needs to drag her out of the White House. The last act, they're going to be like, that Benny Show, they have too much fun. Quick, FBI raid, right now on his studio. They have too much fun. And thankfully, the Supreme Court will say, no, you cannot raid his studio for fun. That is not you. You cannot. Benny has immunity. Benny has immunity. And we all have immunity today from stupidity, but no immunity from cringe. This is going to be a cringe-worthy show because the White House and cringe Jean-Pierre have had an epic meltdown to save all meltdowns. And I cannot believe it. Cringe Jean-Pierre yesterday was subjected to the daily barrage of questions that Sarah Sanders and Kayleigh McEnany got in the White House under Donald Trump. And it's glorious. We're going to play you such juicy sound bites from the meltdown yesterday at the White House. Today, July 9th, 2024. Also, Donald Trump breaks his silence. He has a massive rally today in Florida. We'll be live for it with Marco Rubio. What does that tell you? I don't know. I'll let you speculate. And ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump also gave an incredible interview last night live on Fox News. We'll play it for you. Senator Mike Lee joins the show. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. Next week, we will be at the RNC convention. We'll be live inside of the RNC convention all week, so lock it in, okay? Subscribe, like this video. I don't regularly ask for that, but here, I'm gonna take something completely from Tim Pool here. One like on this live broadcast equals 1 FJB. Okay? 1 like equals 1 FJB. Can we pin it to the comment section? Let's do it. If you like this video, that means you get 1 FJB. All right? Let's comment, pin it up at the top. And what should our poll be today? We want to do polls every single show. So we should totally do a poll right now about Joe Biden potentially dropping out. All right? Will Joe Biden drop out? 1 day, 2 days, in 7 days, or never? Never. Will they have to clear? Or the final poll answer should be it doesn't matter. Joe Biden's the real president, right? There we go. We have the world's greatest monster, and the world's first female president, all in the same person, Jill Biden. We'll get into all of it on the program here. I tell you about the RNC because one, I want you to be aware where we're going. We're going to be spending the entire week up there. We have an awesome location right across the street from the convention hall, and it's going to be amazing. We've already booked Vivek Ramaswamy, Eric Trump, all the Trump kids, some of the biggest names in all of politics. We don't know who the VP is going to be, but we tell you this, every VP has been on this program. Every single person that is being vetted by Donald Trump has been on the show. So you can expect, I think, hopefully, that the vice president nominee will join us. Donald Trump will be very, very busy during the convention. So we can't promise you Donald Trump, but we will promise you that we'll be live for the entire convention. You can watch all the speeches here on this channel. We're hyped for it. And our partner, Patriot Mobile, our exclusive partner at the RNC, will be joining us there. Our program will be powered by Patriot Mobile and their incredible service throughout the nation. Patriot Mobile, of course, has been our partner as we crisscross the country to tell the truth. Patriot Mobile believes in truth. They're the only Christian conservative wireless provider in the country, and they are our backbone when we are on the road. They'll be joining us again at the RNC convention, and for all these incredible historic moments, you should go to patriotmobile.com today. patriotmobile.com/Benny. Call 972-PATRIOT. Get free activation today with the offer code Benny. Join me and make the switch. Patriot Mobile, right here, locked and loaded. Our entire broadcast is going to be brought to you by Patriot Mobile at the RNC. It's going to be amazing. Oh, man. It's going to be amazing. Are you ready to rock today? Are you ready to roll today? It's going to be awesome, guys. Okay, here we go. Donald Trump and KJP battling it out yesterday for who can have the most epic moment on TV. Now, an epic moment can be like an epic meltdown, which KJP had. An epic moment can also be Donald Trump talking at length with Sean Hannity last night, and we have both clips ready for you. I do want to bring up something that I think is really, really important about the news cycle yesterday. Hey, Alex, I want to get into the Parkinsons. Stuff. So I'd like to just very quickly grab the Joe Biden hand shaking, please, if we don't have that in the script. And I want to talk through like what the Democrat Party is really up against, like the monsters that they're up against, because they actually know that Joe Biden has Parkinson's or some type of like horrible disease, and they're pushing him anyway. And they're using effectively the guy's corpse for power. Any moral person, of course, would say that doing this, doing this to one of their family members should be criminal and should be elder abuse, effectively. And that is what we believe on this program. But we were shocked, even ourselves. We were shocked yesterday as this narrative of Joe Biden has Parkinson's. We've been saying dementia for a long time. Well, what do we know? We're not medical experts. But we're going to bring you some medical experts that actually have had conversations about this and are doing this professionally, including, and this was breaking just yesterday, a Parkinson's expert from Walter Reed Medical Center, which is the place where the president gets treated, right? It's a big military hospital next to the White House in Washington, D.C. The Parkinson's expert continually goes to the White House. He went to the White House 8 times in 8 months. Why would that be? The guy also happens to be a Biden donor. So what the hell is going on there? Joe Biden's creepy little midget doctor named Dr. O'Connor. The guy's literally like 3 foot tall. This little man's been like protecting Joe Biden, saying Joe Biden has a clean bill of health. Meanwhile, bringing in these neurologists to meet with himself and then a mystery person. Now, that is the subject of our first big clip for today, which is KJP's meltdown at the White House. Because the press went absolutely guerrilla mode on her. Okay? The press went bananas, bananas, yesterday. I've never seen anything like it. You're gonna see here in this clip, CBS News, like corporate media reporters, they call them the front row, okay? So if you go to the White House briefing room, it's called the front row, all the big corporate networks. Fox News is in there, but also you have CNN, MSNBC, ABC News, CBS, and NBC. And they all sit in the front row, right? And they always get questions, okay? You always do the front row first if you're the White House press secretary. Can you tell I'm practicing? Can you tell I'm practicing? Trump, I'll be your press secretary. It'd be the greatest thing ever. I will have the time of my life. Please let me be the press secretary. Anyway, the front row. So you ask questions the front row. Man, these guys, yesterday, they were like rabid dogs going after this story. And so, of course, it brings up kind of our attention to the descriptors of Parkinson's. So I want to like show you this clip. Do we have this as a play beside? I'm going to show you this clip of the Parkinson's hand. Of Joe Biden's hand. Now this is something that, of course, only we noticed because we're quite autistic like that. But here is Joe Biden's hand at an event in Philadelphia 2 days ago. You'll notice that Joe Biden, I don't have a microphone, but I have something somewhat close. You'll notice his hand continues to tremor. Why would that be? Well, maybe Joe Biden's just tired. But then video after video after video shows Joe Biden's hand tremoring in various different scenarios, right? Joe Biden was at a black church pandering, scared out of his mind, clearly, because Joe Biden in the black church, he always looks like, he just looks terrified. He's like this close to calling 911. Joe Biden is so scared that Corn Pop, right, is going to pop up, and finally, with his razor blade and his rusty chain, come for his revenge, right? Corn Pop's revenge. I would totally buy a ticket. Make that movie, please, Hollywood. Anyway, what I'm saying here is that at that church, you can see Joe Biden's hand doing the same thing. Why is Joe Biden's hand tremoring? Now, tremors in the hand is actually one of the first signs of Parkinson's disease, and I'm particularly knowledgeable about this, not because I'm a doctor, but because my grandfather had Parkinson's disease, the one I lived very close to in Iowa, where I grew up. And I saw him every single week. And that guy, for my entire life, had these tremoring hands. As part of my childhood, I saw it close up, and maybe perhaps you've seen somebody with Parkinson's as well. Presumably, you could just head on down to any nursing home and find somebody with the exact same decline features as Joe Biden is featuring right now. Now, some of the other Parkinson's signals, right, that you see here, according to the Mayo Clinic, is the tremors are common, but the disorder also causes stiffness and slowness of movement. In the early stages of Parkinson's disease, your face may show little to no expression. Do you remember Joe Biden at the debate? Remember that? Like, dude, there's 100 million people watching. Why do you look lobotomized? Joe Biden at the debate, there's like pictures of it. Right? With his mouth all slack-jawed. You almost feel bad for him, right? Arrest Joe Biden for elder abuse. Arrest her. Arrest her. Arms may not swing when you walk. Your speech may become soft and slurred. and the condition progresses over time. All of this is like, dude, this is clinical for what's going on with Joe Biden right now. And we bring all of this up. Oh, we have the church video. Okay. I mean, we have the church video. You can see here. We don't need to play audio with it. You need to like punch forward to like pretty much the last 20 seconds of the video, and you can see Joe Biden's hand. You can see Joe Biden's hand like nervously ticking, moving certainly at a speed that wouldn't be like him just having fun, and moving involuntarily, right? So these are the kind of things that make us say, wait a second, this is a little strange. And then lo and behold, yesterday, I think we have this clip. Yesterday, Joe Biden was asked on Morning Joe, who Morning Joe's his favorite show, and these people know a lot, you know, Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, they know quite a bit about what's going on in this White House because they're very well sourced inside of this White House, much like Tucker Carlson would be well sourced inside of, you know, a Trump White House. I don't like their show. It's not like we tune in, but like it's worth giving credit where credit is due. They know what's going on. They kept asking about Parkinson's. Here, listen.
Have you been tested for any age-related illnesses, pre-Parkinson's, or anything like that that might explain sort of having a night like that where you couldn't finish sentences?
Look, I had before, I was feeling so badly before the debate. When I came back, they tested me for, I thought maybe I had COVID, maybe there was something wrong. I had an infection or something. They tested me. They gave me those tests. I was clear. So, but look, I had a bad night. But the fact of the matter is, look at what I'm doing. I mean, let me put it this way. If there was something that was wrong that night, it's not like it comes and that's one night and it goes away. That's why I've been out. I've been testing myself, been testing everywhere I go, going out and making the case. The night of that debate, I went out. I was out till 2 o'clock in the morning that very night. That very night. It drives me nuts, people talking about this.
It's strange because they've coached Joe Biden. They've obviously have very, very good PR, right? And so they've coached Joe Biden, who's an angry, visceral, psychotic man, who's like a mean, nasty person, right? Remember Jerry Wayne at the auto plant in Detroit, right? Where Joe Biden put his finger in his chest and screamed at him, spit in his face, right? Told him he's going to beat, he called him a horse's ass and told him he's going to be, that's the real Joe Biden. You've all seen that clip, right? This was in 2020. Right before they were like, okay, quick, hit the button, COVID, you know? Like lock everyone down. You can't allow Joe Biden on the actual campaign trail. And they changed politics forever, right? Then they created the insulated president because of Joe Biden. Joe Biden, this is not like Joe Biden's normal, this is not Joe Biden's normal state to be like this calm, like soft-spoken old man. Now, some of it may be part of the Parkinson's and part of the degenerative disease that's happening to Joe Biden. But I think a lot of it's coaching because they've crafted this image of Joe Biden being this like sensitive, sad, you know, this sensitive, like soft-spoken old dude. And so, obviously Joe Biden broke character in that clip and started yelling in that clip from yesterday, MSNBC. Joe Biden is breaking character and starts saying, "This drives me nuts." He starts yelling, and he yelled multiple times during that interview. So Joe Biden's snapping, you know, they're breaking, the walls are crumbling right now. And nothing demonstrated this better than the White House press conference yesterday. The White House press conference yesterday was so delicious because it was, one, because of the delicious tears that KJP cried. And she was on the verge of tears. Her lip was quivering and her eyes were watering up. You can see it. It's incredible. But because it is justice for these people who have been such liars and gaslighters to all of us and who demand different treatment. You know, I was in the Trump briefing rooms. I was there. I was working as a media reporter, a corporate media reporter in Washington, D.C. I saw the literal frothing at the mouth. Like I saw Jim Acosta yelling questions where spittle would shoot out of his mouth. He was like spitting on Sarah Sanders. I saw the blood in these people's eyes. These journalists were rabid, okay? It was like a group of tiger sharks in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico when you just throw a bunch of like disgusting chum into the water. They were animals. okay, when it came to Trump. And they're just these little doves. There's these little like fluffy bunnies when it comes to the Biden White House. And they never ask tough questions, and they never gang up. Remember how they all used to gang up on Sarah Sanders or Kayleigh McEnany, and all these reporters would scream and yell together? That finally happened at the White House yesterday. It's an incredible moment. It's worth soaking it all in. And Cringe Jean-Pierre is going to need 1,000 hours on a therapy couch to get over just this day. Check it out.
Many of them get the care from the White House medical unit, and so need to be super careful. There are, the medical unit hosts a wide range of specialists, from dermatologists to a neurologist, and so I cannot speak to every person because there's actually a security reasons to protect their privacy. We respect and protecting people's privacy, so do not want to share. I'm not going to share people's names from here, but the president, I can tell you, has seen a neurologist 3 times, as it's connected to a physical that he gets every year that we provide to all of you.
It's a very basic, direct question.
Wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
8 times, or at least once, in regards to the president specifically.
Hold on a second.
Not what you should be able to answer by this point.
Wait, no. No, wait a minute. Ed, please. A little respect here, please. So every year, around the president's physical examination, he sees a neurologist. That's 3 times, right? So I am telling you that he has seen a neurologist 3 times while he has been in this presidency. That's what I'm saying. I am telling you that he has seen them 3 times. That is what I'm sharing with you, right? So every time he has a physical, he has had to see a neurologist. So that is answering that question.
No, it's not.
No, it is. It is. You're
Dr.
asking
Kevin
me.
Kennard, come to the White House.
But I also said to you, Ed, I also said to you, for security reasons, we cannot share names. We cannot share names.
You cannot
we
share
have
names
to. We have
of
to.
Others he would have met with.
We cannot.
You can share names in regards to if someone came here in regards to the president.
We cannot share names of specialists broadly, from a dermatologist to a neurologist. We cannot share names. There are security reasons. We have to protect. I understand that. I hear you.
Right there for anyone to see.
Ed, I hear you. I cannot from here confirm any of that because we have to keep their privacy. I think they would appreciate that too. We have to give them.
The doctor.
We have to keep their privacy.
It is public information.
I hear you.
And you're going to allow this to fester longer, Kareem, unless the White House answers the
hold on a second. There's no reason to go back and forth and be in this aggressive way.
Miffed around here about how information's been shared with the press corps about him.
What are you missed about? What are you missed about?
Everything he just asked about.
And then every time I come back and I answer the question that you guys asked.
Correctly, you didn't have to come back and clean up.
I never answered the question incorrectly. That is not true. I was asked about a medical exam. I was asked about a physical. That was in the line of question that I answered. And I said, no, he did not have a medical exam. And I still stand by that. Matter of fact, the president still stands by that. He had a verbal check-in. That is something that the president has a couple times a week.
Now in regards to Dr. Kevin Kennard.
And I am telling you right now that I am not sharing confirming names from here. It is the security reasons. I am not going to do that, Ed. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me. I'm not going to confirm a name. It doesn't matter if it's even in the log. I am not going to do that from here. That is not something I am going to do. What I can share with you is that the president has seen a neurologist for his physical 3 times. 3 times. And it is in the reporting that we share a comprehensive reporting. Matter of fact, it's more than what the last guy shared, and it is in line with what George W. Bush did. It's in line with what Obama did. And so it is comprehensive. It is out there. I just read a quote from it, but I am not going to devolve somebody's name or confirm someone. I'm not going to do that. That is as privacy for that person. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't matter how hard you push me. It doesn't matter how angry you get with me from here. I'm just not going to do that. It is inappropriate. It is not acceptable. So I'm not going to do it.
Not about the name?
Go ahead.
If you cannot confirm the name, can you confirm whether or not the president has seen this Parkinson's specialist? And you mentioned 3 times, but the visitor logs show a duration of 8 visits over 8 months. I think that is the crux of the question.
But I also said there are thousands of military personnel that come to the White House, and they are under the of the medical unit. They are.
So can you confirm that the Parkinson's specialist visits were for the president or not?
What I can tell you is that the president has seen a neurologist 3 times, and I read to you what the neurologist has said. And I read to you the last line. I could say it again. No findings which would be consistent with any cerebellar or other central neurological disorders such as stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis. That is from February. That is coming from February. That is what the medical unit, the president's doctor, shared. And I said to you, it's happened 3 times. Each time there is a physical that occurs and we put out a comprehensive report, that is when he has been able to see a specialist. So that's what I can share.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we have said before, the world's greatest monsters are the people who would do this to anyone who's infirmed. Joe Biden is handicapped. You're abusing a handicapped person. This is, frankly, a crime. The cover-up is a crime as well. Kamala Harris is the beating heart of this cover-up. Kamala Harris meets with Joe Biden regularly. She knows this. The entire team knows this. They're aware of what's going on. We're very, very happy that Chip Roy said that he'd be in favor of a Truth and Reconciliation January 6th style committee to look at the mental decline of Joe Biden from an investigative standpoint, and to see who the culprits were, right? An important reminder that Biden's own DOJ declared him mentally handicapped. That's what they declared him. They said Joe Biden is so mentally infirmed he can't stand trial. That's what Joe Biden's own DOJ said about him in her report. And yet he's out here declaring that he's going to be president again. And he's ready to be president again. His own DOJ has declared him unfit to serve. And so who are we going to listen to? Man. I think we should listen to maybe a Parkinson's expert, because the dam is now breaking in Washington, D.C. Right now, at the DNC headquarters, there is a meeting going on with Democrats huddling to try and mitigate this disaster. So often, it's Republicans who are on their back feet with a national crisis, right, that has either been created or manufactured by the media. Now it's Democrats. I mean, truly, it's Democrats now. And Republicans are set and prepared to hold Merrick Garland in contempt. That's going to happen tomorrow. Donald Trump is now breaking his silence, getting back on the campaign trail, and things seem to be looking up. Let's listen so you heard Karine Jean-Pierre do what she is paid to do, which is lie on behalf of Joe Biden, have a meltdown, actually a literal meltdown at the White House. Reporters doing their job and asking full-throated questions to KJP about their lies and then calling her out on the lies. It's incredible. The guy's in the front row. His name Ed O'Keefe. He's a reporter for CBS News. And you've never seen this in the Biden era. You've never seen it. And so what do the experts have to say? A Parkinson's expert was on TV this morning on NBC News, corporate television, talking about what's happening to Joe Biden. And this is a guy who's spent his entire life researching Parkinson's. And he says, and this is on corporate cable TV, Joe Biden has Parkinson's. Watch.
Noticed anything that gives you a red flag as a doctor?
Oh, yeah. I see him 20 times a day in clinic. I mean, it's ironic because he has just such classic features of neurodegeneration. I mean, word finding difficulties, and that's not, I couldn't find the word. That's from degeneration of the word retrieval area.
He's also overcome stuttering, though. Could that be part of that, too?
No, this is not a palatal issue or a speech discrepancy, which is very different from a lemino dysfunction, actual word retrieval, where you pick a similar question or talk around the issue, plus the rigidity, monotone voice.
Wait, go back to that, the rigidity. What do you mean?
rigidity, loss of arm swing, standing up lordotically. You notice when he turns, it's kind of end block turning. It's not a quick turn. That's one of the hallmarks of Parkinsonism is rigidity and bradykinesia, slow movement. And he has that hallmark, especially with the low voice that said was a cold hypophonia. A small monotone voice like this over time is a hallmark of Parkinsonism. I could have diagnosed him from across the mall.
Here are some of the symptoms from Parkinson's. We just had him up there on the screen. If we can put him back. What about the movement? Some people have pointed out the way he walks. Sometimes it's not very fast, small steps. Is that something that is common in people who are battling a disease like Parkinson's?
Yeah, it's a hallmark. Shuffling gait, we call that, so little steps. Loss of arm swing from the rigidity. When we walk, we have a nice cadence. You notice he doesn't really swing his arms. And end block turning, meaning he kind of pivots around his foot. If you said, hey, President Biden, he wouldn't go like this. Yeah.
But I also know, and tell me if I'm wrong here, it's very hard to diagnose Parkinson's, isn't it? It's not simple. I mean, I've heard that it can be.
It's one of the easier movement disorders to diagnose, actually.
Right,
but it's so clinic. There's very little other. And I'm a Democrat. I always say about this.
Right.
It's just like this guy is not a hard case.
But I've had relatives who have gone through neurological issues, and I've heard that sometimes Parkinson's is not very easy to nail. You have to take a lot of tests.
It's early on. If you're just presented with like hallucinations, that could be a variety of things, or just the cognitive problems. That could be Alzheimer's versus Parkinsonism, and that becomes a little nebulous. But once you start manifesting the hallmark motor symptoms,
right?
Slow movement, rigidity, mass facies, hypophonia. I mean, if a med student did not pick Parkinson's on the test, they'd be remediated.
So let me ask you, you're a Democrat, you're a doctor. You sound like you're frustrated with what the White House is saying.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because, I'm an American before everything. And I look at it and say, when I used to see Russia, Soviet Union, North Korea, when they just make outrageous things, like when North Korea can't keep the lights on and they say, it was some faulty power thing. I kind of hate that kind of stuff. They had 4 years. My own party had 4 years to find, this was a wreck in slow motion. And they had 4 years to find out of 350 Americans, one person that could take the place. And here we are the day before school trying to do the homework and replace a guy who's got a neurodegenerative disease.
Dr. Pitt.
Who's that? Okay, hold on. So he's an expert. Producers, can I get his name? What's his name? That guy's awesome. Let's book him on the show. He's like, I'm a Democrat. Why are we doing this guy? And the paid shill there for NBC News is like, well, because, it's very hard to diagnose. The doctor's like, no, it's not. I've done this my entire life. Look at him. The stiffness in the gait.
Well, since somebody in my family said it was hard.
Shut up. You're fake news. You're like North Korea. That's what the guy just said. That's an amazing clip. That's incredible. So often we put the show together and I watch the clips live with you, right? And hop into the chat, right? I watch the clips live. And I'm like, I'm blown away. I'm like screaming in the studio. I was like, this is an incredible booking. Let's get this guy on the show. Holy smokes. 1 like equals 1 FJB, ladies and gentlemen. Like, and it looks like we got the poll up. Doesn't matter. Jill's president. I just voted. Everybody says Jill's president. Okay. I do want to show you something very interesting about Jill Biden. Did you know this? It's something really. So it's a tweet I sent in the production chat here. Did you know that Jill Biden went to the Marines and the Marine Corps band? It's called the President's Own, right? The Marine Corps band. Here we go. Is the people who play Hail to the Chief, right? You know Hail to the Chief. I want to show you what we're dealing with here. For all those people who are like, Joe's going to drop out, okay? I need you to see the type of zealotry and mini tyranny, psychotic mini tyranny that you're dealing with, all right? This is an incredible excerpt from some reporting in Washington, D.C. Check this out. Can we click on the actual source of the article? There we go. The Marine Corps band. Again, the fancy people who play for the president, right, and stationed there on Barracks Row in Washington, D.C., was instructed to come up with an entrance theme music for the First Lady. What? The source told the Washington Examiner the band has in its repertoire an original composition titled Fanfare for the First Lady. The song, the source said, is essentially Jill Biden's personal Hail to the Chief, in that it will be performed and repeated at official White House functions, from her first appearance until she is ready to speak. So Jill Biden ordered the military to write her theme music when she wobbles into places in her bath curtain dress that she's wearing. Bed Bath & Beyond, going out of business. Get easy dresses for Jill Biden. And right before she goes on stage as Alice Cooper, which is what she does when Joe is comatose and in bed. She goes and performs as Alice Cooper throughout the country. Very, very talented person, Jill Biden. Look at this. This is what they have. This is what you're dealing with. Hey, Democrats. Hey, good luck. Good luck, pal. This is what you're dealing with. This is kind of like psychotic, miniature tyrants, tin pot tyrants that you're dealing with. That dude on MSNBC, the doctor, he's like, yo, like, we're no better than North Korea in like the way we actually do the news here. Like, we're such liars. And these people are total liars. And of course, the media deserves so much scorn. How is it that our show, I need to step back for just a second because we're going to talk about Democrats and we're going to play you all of Donald Trump's interview last night. Very good interview. Donald Trump's first interview, actually, since not committing elder abuse in the debate, just allowing Joe Biden to do it to himself, right? Which I think is so smart for Donald Trump. Just as an aside here, Donald Trump would have been the bad guy if it looked like he was bludgeoning with a cinder block Joe Biden on stage, right? Like if Donald Trump was metaphorically just like hammering Joe Biden, okay, it would have looked bad because it would have looked like elder abuse. Now it's on Jill, and it's amazing. Democrats are meeting right now in panic. Right now, as we talk, there are reporters all outside the DNC. They're meeting in Washington, D.C. to determine like the fate of Joe Biden, to determine like what's going to happen. They're all like huddled at the DNC convention. The rules here is no staff. You have to lock your phones in a box, okay? Because they don't trust people. They don't trust the leakers. And only the members of Congress have to sit around. And Nancy Pelosi's there. And she was wheeled in, you know, with a cocktail cart right behind her. They already mixing the martinis. Nancy's going in. She's going to be buying stocks and slugging Smirnoff martinis as she screams at the staff, at the members of Congress inside, that they will get no more insider trading tips if they decide to tip the boat over on Biden. So it's very, very interesting time right now. Here's reporting on the meeting this morning as Democrats in panic.
Meeting is officially underway. Got going here at the top of the hour. We've seen the likes of Debbie Dingell, Benny Thompson walk in. It's top secret. Members aren't allowed to have their cell phones in there to prevent any leaks, as we've seen in the past few days. Lots of leaks when members start texting the press. So they're trying to avoid that and allow a safe space for members to speak. We're not even sure if the president is going to call in, but you can see over my shoulder, you've got some Republican interns from the NRCC holding a sign with a question that Democrats will, unfortunately for them, be asking about the president, whether he is fit for office for the next 4 years. Now, even though House Democratic leadership supports the president as the next nominee, there are still 9 members who publicly oppose that, and even more that are questioning it. Watch.
Well, right now I'm continuing to listen to members and see where they are. Our members really need to continue to just see how this week plays out and see the president in unscripted situations.
It's his decision what he wants to do. I respect that. I respect the nomination process. I will support vigorously whoever the nominee is.
Meanwhile, Senate Democrats, they're going to get together today as well during lunch. And while Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he is for Joe, his vulnerable colleagues, guys, they are not on the same page. We're talking about senators like Sherrod Brown, Martin Heinrich, John Tester. They are distancing themselves from the president. And Pennsylvania Senator Bob Casey, who does support the president, was with him at a rally over the weekend, isn't willing to pressure his colleagues to save the president.
It was frustrating. He wanted people to stop talking about this. Let's move on and focus on November. But it doesn't seem like your Senate colleagues want to stop talking about this. In fact, they want to start the conversation.
Well, I'm not going to give advice to what they talk about. I've got a race to run in a very competitive state and in a tough election, so I'm going to focus on my race.
And Bill, the president did get a big boost of support from the Hispanic and Black caucus chairs last night. But if he wants Democrats to just shut up about his age, that's not going to happen today at all. That's all they're talking about.
Spicy. Here we go, baby. Democrats in disarray. It's incredible. It's incredible. The series of the series of wins that have been happening. It's biblical. It's amazing. We're watching something, and we're less than 120 days to the November election, and we are watching the total destruction of one of the most evil forces in modern Western civilization, which is modern day wokeism and leftism, which is completely designed to destroy this place and destroy you, destroy your family. And isn't it amazing? Truly, it is amazing that these people wanted your medical records. They wanted you to get down on your knees and grovel and display your medical records to them, okay? So that you could work. So you could go to your job. They had to be stopped at the Supreme Court from forcing you to have to grovel to go to work and to give up your private medical information, and far more nefarious, to give up your right to bodily autonomy, your right to decide what goes into your body, what medicines you take, what therapeutics you take. Life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, that's like inscribed, that all men are created equal, that we have the right to that, and we have the right to make our own choices. This party was lockstep. Joe Biden, this administration was lockstep to say, you need to get down on your knees and grovel to us and deliver your entire medical history and violate every single righteous bodily temple because of our therapeutic that we wish to force on you so that you can provide bread for your families. These same people, nigh on 18, 20 months later, are sobbing and screaming and saying that it's medical privacy that's preventing us to understand why all of the Parkinson's physicians on earth are traveling to the White House to secretly meet with Joe Biden and diagnose him. They're now screaming about medical privacy. Isn't it biblical? Isn't it wonderful? They like put a nice little bow on top of everything. These are the same people. It's delicious, as we say. The sweet, salty tears, they flow, and they continue to flow. You know, Joe Biden didn't even go to this meeting. So this is the Biden doomsday meeting that's happening right now, the DNC. Banned all phones, banned all staff. And apparently Joe Biden didn't even attend. Again, this is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with people that demand the military write them songs to their glory. like they're worse than they're worse than the dictators of small markets, like the small communist nations that still exist. Tajikistan. All right, it's incredible. Here we go. Biden's not even in attendance.
Diversity of opinion cost you the election?
No, I think it strengthens the likelihood of victory.
You're in a better shape now than you were a week and a half ago?
Well, now, you're going to ask one question. I'll give you an answer. You're going to run it down somewhere. We'll be in better shape by November.
Now, a senior House Democratic leadership source says President Biden will not meet with congressional Democrats this week. The reason, the source said, quote, because he does not want to meet with people who will say things he does not want to hear. Bill?
No, you know, the incredible thing about tyrants is they're so thin-skinned. You know, one of the first acts to agitate and spiral out of control the Revolutionary War environment in the colonies was King George banning cartoons of himself. It's a story I love so much because we use memes, and memes are just modern-day political cartoons, right? They used to be printed in newspapers. Now they're memes, okay? And political cartoonists, very powerful people. And the ability to ridicule the powerful is so essential to the fabric of this country. And King George banned the cartooning of himself in the colonies because they were making a mockery of him. the tyrant, the nature of the tyrant is always the same. It is remarkable. It's wonderful to see things be so consistent throughout history. The nature of the tyrant is that they can't handle bad news and they can't handle honesty about themselves. And it's a fundamental Christian principle, it's a fundamental moral principle that you must be able to hear that you are a fallen person, that you need to work on things, that I need to work on things. Me as a father, a business owner, as just a human being, I must always perpetually try to be better. This is something that I grapple with day and night. I lose sleep over it because I want to better myself. And it's important to have that feedback loop. If you don't have that with your wife, your employees, with people around you, then clearly nobody loves you. And more importantly, clearly you're incapable of like understanding human nature. And so Joe Biden doesn't want to meet with his own Democrat party because they're going to tell him things he doesn't like. Oh, it's so good. It's almost like these people force the military to write them songs. So executive producer ALX has done a number here, a very special thing. We call it ALX AI at this show. ALX AI is one of the first AIs, actually, before anyone, before ChatGPT. ALX AI existed. And ALX AI is our executive producer, ALX, being able to find pretty much any clip, anytime. Takes him like 10 seconds. And so he didn't know I was going to talk about Joe Biden's entrance music, but lo and behold, we found it. And so here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden's entrance music. You're hearing it for the first time. The military is clearly trolling her. We should have assaulted her. We should have assaulted Jill. The military clearly trolled her. Jill, they did you dirty. It's like a made-for-TV Disney movie, like a Lion King 4. It is Jill. You listened to this and didn't realize they were trolling you? Oh, man. Okay. All right, baby. That song is not solid gold, but you should be investing in solid golds with our friends at Allegiance Gold, ensuring your future and ensuring that you have something sound in your life as we go through the trials and tribulations of a crazy world that is changing seemingly every single hour. Make sure that you are invested and you're invested wisely in precious metals, something that always goes up. Not promising things here, but always goes up, all right, when there are times of tumult, all right, and craziness around the world, and that certainly is what we are seeing, absolutely. Make sure that you are invested wisely. Go to protectwithbenny.com today, 844-66-BENNY. Right now you can get $5,000 in a free silver with a qualifying purchase. Don't get fooled. Protectwithbenny.com today. Protect yourself. There are a lot of people that wish to protect our election integrity in Congress. In fact, we may be passing the SAVE Act soon. There are sponsors. One of them joined the show yesterday, Chip Roy, and the chief sponsor of the SAVE Act, which essentially says you have to be an American to vote in America, which is a wild concept. How Republicans haven't done this throughout the course of, I don't know, like the last 70 years, I don't understand. Why we didn't do this when we had a Republican president, House and Senate a couple of years ago, I don't understand. It's almost like the Republican Party hates us, some of the people in the establishment, and hates their voters. But now we are changing that dynamic, and one of the men who are changing it is the co-sponsor of the SAVE Act in the Senate, Senator Mike Lee, joins the program now. Mike, I just want to ask you, because we just can't dog with a bone, we just can't get our teeth, we can't unsink our teeth into this thing. Jill Biden forced the military to write her a song, like write her entrance music. Is that, you've been in DC for a little bit, is that wild? Is that like normal, or is that wild?
It's normal in the Habsburg Empire, perhaps. It's normal, perhaps, in a Soviet republic sort of way, but not in a United States of America sort of way. One of the scariest things I've seen, or just weirdest things I've ever seen. I go back and forth between being terrified and wildly amused.
Okay, so terrifying is the fact that that same White House, the White House that spent so much time writing Joe Biden a theme song, is also spending a lot of time writing commentary on why we don't need the SAVE Act. And we were live yesterday when the White House dropped their disapproval of what you were trying to do here, Senator, which is to ensure that only Americans vote in American elections. So I want to get your response to that. Maybe we can pop that up on screen.
Okay, look, the White House response yesterday was mindless and completely unpersuasive. As I recall, the principal response was similar to what Democrats have been saying about the SAVE Act generally. Remember, the SAVE Act simply says that only non-citizens should vote in federal elections, and therefore, if you want to vote in a federal election, you need to be able to prove that you are a citizen, just as you would have to do anytime you start a job when you fill out an I-9, just as you would have to do when you apply for a passport, for example. But the Democrats have been opposing it principally by saying, well, it's already illegal for a non-citizen to vote. So obviously, we don't need to do this. Now, Benny, by that very same logic, you could say it's already illegal to sell beer and cigarettes to a minor. Therefore, there's no reason to have them produce ID when they're buying cigarettes or beer at a store. It just doesn't wash. I mean, in fact, it would get rid of a lot of their favorite programs. The left loves background checks as a condition for buying a gun. Same thing there. It's already illegal for felons to acquire or possess weapons. Therefore, you don't need any of that. So that argument just doesn't wash. The truth is, Benny, they don't have any good reason to oppose this. And, with 10 million illegal aliens who have entered our country just since President Biden's been in office, and with a total of about 30 million non-citizens in the United States, that's the current estimate. And a lot of those have come in through this administration, through the deliberate, willful refusal to enforce our border. Joe Biden has every obligation to make sure that our elections are secure. So this leaves a question. Why? Why oppose it? When the principal reason, the only reason that they're consistent about doesn't wash, it really begs the question of why they're really opposing it. Could it be that they're just really comfortable with non-citizens voting?
The reason why they're opposing it is because they've built a machine, not necessarily around illegal immigrants voting. They don't even need them to vote. They just need the human being to exist in a specific area, typically a large city, in order to harvest a ballot. The ballot gets filled out by the Democrat operatives and then pumped into a unmonitored drop box. And that's, of course, how you get really remarkable 100% ballot drops in 3 a.m. And this is like a pretty simple, obvious mechanism that, of course, would be destroyed by having to ally each ballot with a American citizenship proof. I think that's why, Senator.
Right. And the reason why that's so awful is because over the last 30 years, we've had laws that have been slowly building us up to this point. In 1993, Congress passed the NVRA, the National Voter Registration Act, also known as the Motor Voter Law. And it allows people in each state, when they apply for a driver's license, to check a box and sign their name on a dotted line saying, I'm a U.S. citizen and I'd like to register to vote. And that's all they have to do. It's on the honor system. It's all they have to do is just be willing to lie and say, I'm a citizen and I'd like to register to vote. And then it's done. Now, a few years ago, there was litigation about this. It went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. And the U.S. Supreme Court, wrongly, in my view, it was a bad ruling, but it concluded that under the National Voter Registration Act, those officials who register people to vote through this motor voter process are prohibited. Benny, they're not even allowed. They're affirmatively prohibited from requiring any kind of proof of citizenship from those who are doing it. And so we've created the opportunity We've made it almost impossible to detect. And then we've flooded the zone with illegal immigrants. What could go wrong? Although I have a strong feeling, as you suggested, that this is a feature, not a bug for the Democrats, and it makes it that much more important for us to pass the SAVE Act.
Yes, that's right. Again, I think it's really important to note that they don't need the illegal immigrant to vote, even though it would be very easy, Senator. This is an example of exactly how easy it is. Here we go. Here is what it takes to illegally vote in the country. Voter registration application. Are you a citizen of the United States? 1 box or 2 box? All you need to do is be paid $5, a pack of cigarettes, promise of a job, to tick the yes box, lie, and then, there's really no mechanism to even check this at all. There's no mechanism to go after the people who checked the box incorrectly. In the president's own statement, Senator, he goes, yeah, this does happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. I mean, effectively, they said, yeah, people do lie and non-citizens vote, but like not a ton, okay? So chill out, Senator.
So in other words, well, there are a whole lot more citizens voting than non-citizens, so that's a win. I mean, if this is what qualifies as acceptable for government work, this whole thing is going off the rails. But look, for those Americans who care about the rule of law, who believe that our vote means something and that we suffer vote dilution, we have effective disenfranchisement of law-abiding American citizens when we allow people who are not citizens to vote. This throws off the whole game. This throws off the whole thing. These are the same people, by the way, who understand on some level the need for the legitimacy of elections. So much so that, according to them, we can't even question whether something could go wrong in an election or might have gone wrong in an election without them accusing us of high treason. But by their own standard, they ought to be deeply concerned about this, if nothing else, because of the perception and the bad things that happen in any free republic when people stop believing in the legitimacy of elections.
Yeah. I mean, this seems to have been the goal for so long. It seems to have been the goal for quite a while, and a pox on on some of the Chamber of Commerce people and some of the dumb. It's truly like stupid, short-sighted Republicans, quote unquote conservatives who backed this and who didn't do anything about it when we had the power to do it. Maybe you answer 2 questions for me simultaneously, because I know we're short on time. One, why didn't this happen when Republicans had unified control of the House, the Senate, and the White House? Because even if you pass this, Joe Biden's promised to veto it, and I don't think you're going to convince him otherwise. And 2, what would this effectively do? Because the argument is that this is going to create so many uphill battles for Americans to vote.
Okay, look, number one, as to why it wasn't done earlier, the short answer is I don't know, but a lot of us weren't aware of the nature and the extent of the threat until this administration. In part because it's this administration that has, number one, welcomed all these illegal immigrants, like 10 million or so in the last 3 years alone, into the country. And so our population of non-citizens in the United States has exploded. Number two, this administration has taken active steps to promote things that lead to voter registration and among non-citizens, unless you take steps to prevent them from doing so. So it's caused us to pay more attention to it. As to the suggestion that they've made that this will somehow make voting untenable or too difficult, it's nonsense. Look, people get new jobs all the time. And if you're an American citizen, when you find new employment, you have to fill out an I-9. When you fill out an I-9, you have to produce proof of citizenship. It works. It's not an undue burden. And if we ever get to the point, Benny, where it's just too difficult to take steps to ensure the integrity and the legitimacy of an election, we're doing something wrong. And so that's why we've got to pass this. Send the message to your lawmakers, Republican, Democrat, House, Senate. Tell them in no uncertain terms. Don't even think about coming back unless you support the SAVE Act. My hope is that we can get this passed in the House of Representatives tomorrow, and that we can find ways to push this forward and to give Biden no choice. People were saying you shouldn't be doing this because even if it gets to his desk, he'll veto it. We don't know that. I would like to see him have to make that choice. How would he explain that to the American people? Yes, I'm vetoing this. Because what? You want non-citizens to vote? One of many examples, Benny, of the fact that libs can't meme.
And you know it wouldn't be Joe Biden. It'd be Jill holding the pen kind of over his shoulder, kind of scrawling, right? Be vetoed in crayon. It'd be very embarrassing. So
it would be inspired by the First Lady music in the background.
Oh man, that song. How do you? I mean, that's like a Disney Plus series for 3-year-olds. They wouldn't approve that as like the intro music. I don't know how they got that past the First Lady, but here we are. Maybe it's the Parkinsons. You never know. So speaking of people who are old and out of touch, why aren't 100% of your colleagues on board with this, Senator?
Well, look, all Republican senators certainly should be on board with it. We don't have 100% co-sponsorship, but co-sponsorship doesn't necessarily mean they wouldn't vote for it. I would hope, I would expect all Republicans in the Senate should be able to support this. The question is, what about the Democrats? Why haven't we seen a single Democrat come out in open support of it yet? The more we get people talking about this, the more that the Sherrod Browns and the Bob Caseys and the John Testers, all of whom are up for re-election, are going to have to address that. And even those who are not up for re-election, how are they going to explain to their constituents back home, I'm really not concerned about people having to prove citizenship as a condition for voting in a federal election. That's why the discussion matters so much. Regardless of the ultimate outcome, and regardless of whether you think that there is a clear path to it getting passed by both houses of Congress and signed into law by President Biden, we must try. If we don't try, we don't even put people on record. We don't know who to hold accountable.
I love the wartime tactics here. We told Chip Roy yesterday. The wartime tactics are great because you are finally, the Republicans have found their balls and are forcing an issue. They're like, oh, okay, we're going to actually put you on blast here, and we're going to force you to vote against this untenable situation. I mean, Elon Musk's been going bananas on this. I can't believe how hardcore he's gone on X supporting you. And how is John Tester going to travel back to Montana and explain this? You can't. There's no way to explain this to the people of Ohio for Sherrod Brown. And so I just love that. Hopefully there's more of this, right? Like use these tactics against the Democrat Party and make them actually take stances on their positions because they're quite repulsive to the American people. I think we have a poll here. ALX, you posted it. The last thing I want to say on this issue, Senator, is the American people support you. Something like 80% of the American people want citizenship verification, according to recent polling. So that alone should like send shockwaves, obviously, through Congress. And now if we can just message it correctly, I think we can actually get this done.
No, that's exactly right. And God bless Elon Musk, by the way, who now runs America's #1 and most trusted news source, X. Look, the fact that Elon is willing to speak out on this and the fact that he owns a platform that allows people to speak out on this, it disempowers the mainstream news media who would otherwise be telling Americans, oh, that thing that you think you want, these aren't the droids you're looking for. It's not actually good for you. And look, we don't have to drown out all those messages. All we need are opportunities to speak the truth. And on your show, on X, and on a handful of other platforms and websites, people are able to speak the truth. And that's why the American people are calling for this more and more. We're going to make a difference with this.
Look at the Pew Research Center, Senator. Like when was the last time you were on the preponderance of the polling side of the Pew Research Center of all places?
This is proof that the apocalypse is at hand.
Dominance, 81%. It's even better than 80%. 81%, Senator, supports you. So I hope you guys drive this home. I hope you keep coming on this program. We will absolutely lend a shoulder and lend all of our muscle into getting this passed. This is actually, everyone says, we're going to save America. This is like literally saving America. So thank you, Senator, for your fight on this.
And thanks so much. And I'll keep you updated. I post regularly on X at Based Mike Lee about the Save X. So you can follow it there.
There he is. 250,000 followers. Senator, 250,000. Ooh, baby.
All this after less than 2 years ago, some guy at a Turning Point conference suggested that I do my own Twitter account, because it was still Twitter then. We can call it that.
Yeah, I still owe your staff an entire Sam's Club package of Xanax for doing this.
my poor staff, they put up with it well, but it's been a lot of fun. So thank you for suggesting based Mike Lee.
And thank you, Senator. Godspeed.
Thank you.
One of the good guys, man. Got to tell you, we love having good guys on the program. So we have not yet booked Donald Trump for our exclusive interview. I can tell you, since all of the Trump children have been on the show, and all the Trump campaign has been on the show, and Trump's spokesperson has been on the show a bunch of times, and all the Trump allies have been on the show, we will endeavor to book Donald Trump for our program, and I have every indication that we shall be victorious. Alex has been at this program for a long time, man. We have seldom failed in our missions at the show through a lot of hard work, grit, and determination, and the grace of God. We go forward, and we've been able to deliver the best that we can. Now, we wish to deliver you Donald Trump live on this program. And by hell or high water, hook or crook, all the king's horses, all the king's men, we're going to do it before the election. You have my word. We're going to do it before the election. Might not happen next week at the RNC convention. He's very busy, but it's going to happen. Trust me. Tonight, we're going to bring you Donald Trump live at his rally. That rally starts at 7 p.m., so tune in, please. But now we can bring you Donald Trump live because Donald Trump was live last night. Perhaps you missed it. It's a very important interview where he touches on his vice presidential pick and selection, his state of the race with Joe Biden, and what he believes Kamala Harris has cooking behind the scenes. We have heard nothing from Donald Trump over the last 10 days, which is silence has been deafening. But here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Donald Trump last night, the interview, his first time breaking his silence, so to speak, on Fox News. Let's go.
And tonight, chaos is brewing in the Democratic Party as calls for Joe Biden to drop out are growing. Joining us now for an exclusive interview on the phone, former President Donald Trump. Mr. President, great to have you, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you very much, John. I'm fine. Thank you.
Let's go back to the debate with you and President Biden, because immediately you can notice his voice was raspy, but beyond that, within minutes, I could tell this was not going to be a good night for Joe Biden. What was going through your head at that time?
Well, it was a big evening, and you could feel a lot of energy. Boy, energy like you haven't felt in a long time. On any of the debates, I've done a lot of debates, and we've had great success with debates, but this was something very special. For whatever reason, it just seemed big. And when I got to Atlanta, and this was at CNN headquarters, there was a lot of excitement. There were trucks, I call them the $10 million trucks. That's with the antennas all over, and very incredible equipment. I'm looking at things that are, it's just more of a scene than it normally would be. And it really was that way right from the start, right from the moment they introduced us, and then they introduced him and introduced me, and I walked out and I saw him, and he looked extremely pale, to put it nicely. And I don't know, maybe it was a good makeup job or maybe it wasn't, but he was a very pale-looking man.
Pale.
And when he started to speak, I don't know, I thought his voice was weak. I didn't know exactly what was happening. It was strange. I do have to say that the CNN, Jake and Dana, were really, they were pretty good. I thought they were fair. I thought they were fair in the questions. I thought to me. But it was a strange evening. I will tell you, it was a strange debate because within a couple of minutes, the answers given by him they didn't make a lot of sense.
Well, let me ask you this. I think some of the worst moments for President Biden when he wasn't talking, there was like this blank, vacant stare, and
Parkinson's.
It's like he was checked out, and
Parkinson's.
I run a montage of it. When you were speaking and you'd look over, did you notice that too, or?
You know, I was thinking about what I was saying. I wasn't looking over at him almost at all, except when he went a little bit haywire. I didn't look at him at all. And I'm very disappointed in him. He's the worst president in the history of our country. We've never had anything like it, what he's done to our borders, what he's done to our country, inflation, the people that he's hurting. He's destroying Social Security. And people are, you know, I'm just so upset with him as president. And so I wasn't really looking over. I purposely wasn't. And I did take a couple of peeks when he was in the midst of giving some really bad answers. They weren't even answers. They were just words put together that had no meaning or sense. But for the most part, I didn't really look over.
Since before the 2020 election, on radio and TV, I have chronicled the fact that Joe looked weak and frail and that he was a cognitive mess long before the election in 2020. The media, I call them state-run media, Democrats, they're all acting shocked, like this just came out of nowhere. Is this one incident, or is it, you know, is this something permanent? I'm like, did they not notice the guy can't give a press conference? Did they not notice that he doesn't use the big boy stairs getting on Air Force One? Did they not notice the plan to surround him as he walks to and from Marine One? That he wouldn't do a Super Bowl interview, a layup interview for any president, really. What part of his cognitive decline do you think they missed, or did they purposely cover for him, in your view?
Well, they cover for him, and they still are sort of covering, but now it's getting very difficult to do that. And, you know, it looks to me like he may very well stay in. He's got an ego, and he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to do that. It just looks to me like that's what he wants. I think Jill would like to see him stay. She's having a good time. I notice she really seems to be having a good time, and I'm hearing that Hunter is calling the shots. So this isn't necessarily a very positive thing for our country. But I think he, you know, might very well stay in, and if he does, nobody wants to give that up that way. He's going to feel badly about himself for a long time. It's hard to give it up that way, the way where they're trying to force him out. So, I mean, you really have to speak to his doctors, but obviously he's been sheltered by the fake news media. That's why they call it the fake news.
Do you, Mr. President, do you want Joe Biden to step aside? Do you care?
Well, we've prepared for him, but I don't think it's going to matter. We had a great 4 years. Our border was the strongest ever. Our economy pre-COVID was incredible, the best ever. But then when we got hit with the gift from China, the China virus, that came in, and we did a fantastic job, and we got it back where the stock market was actually higher to just prior to COVID coming in. So, I mean, we've done a job. The military, we defeated ISIS, took out the worst terrorists in the world, and defeated ISIS. And that was a big thing. I was told it would take 5 years, and it took us a couple of months. The military is fantastic. By the way, the military is not woke. The people at top are woke, but the military is never going to be woke. Those are incredible people. What they did for me in the fight on ISIS. And then we had no wars. I mean, I had no wars. We're heading into World War III, in my opinion, with this man semi-running things, because he's not running things. The people that surround the Oval Office, the people that surround the Resolute desk, the beautiful Resolute desk, they're really running things in Washington, I suspect, and it's very bad. And, you know, he got them into the warfare and lawfare, many different terms you can use, but basically going after your political opponent, using the Justice Department, using local DAs, using local attorney generals, going after your political opponent. Nobody's ever seen anything like that. And, you know, there are those, I just read an article that it's been a positive for me, but it's not a positive. It's very unfair. It's fighting an unfair battle. But he's the one that got us into that. And all these lawsuits you see and everything else, that's all Biden-inspired, meaning Biden people inspired. And it's, very sad. I think it's a very sad time for our country. We're not respected anywhere in the world. He's not respected. And our country is in very serious trouble. And I'll tell you what, if we're not careful, we're going to be right in the middle of World War III, and that will be a war like nobody's seen before because of the weaponry. The weaponry is a whole lot different than two army tanks going up against each other. This is a whole different world, and we don't have somebody that can properly represent us. There's no question about that.
What do you make of all the talk that if Biden steps aside or is pushed out, that it would be Vice President Harris? Do you expect that much would change?
Well, I think that it will be her. I think they are very concerned about the vote if it's not her. They are very, very, they're gun shy. They don't want to do it any other way. I've actually come to believe that's what they're going to do. I think she's an ineffective person. She was in charge of the border. She's never been there. She didn't do a good job, and she hasn't done a job on a lot of things. But it would seem to me that from a political standpoint, that's who they're going with. They're not even talking about alternatives. And it seems that if he gets out for whatever reason, and I don't think he wants to get out, but if he gets out, it will be her. Interestingly, he's got a lot of power because he's got the delegates. You know, when you have the delegates, unless he says I'm getting out, they can't do anything to get him out other than the 25th Amendment. If they want to do it in a different route, it would be the 25th Amendment. But let's assume with not very much time left. You know, there's not much time left, and then we can straighten out our country. We'll make America great again, right? But there's not a lot of time left. But I think unless they use the 25th Amendment, which they'd use in a different sense, he has all the power. He has the delegates. He doesn't have to get out. There's nothing they can do to get him out. So he'll get the nomination. He got the nomination, and then they'll have their meeting in Chicago, which, by the way, last week, 117 people were shot and 17 people were killed. That was last weekend in Chicago.
Correct.
And that's like a war zone. But they have their convention in Chicago, and they're obviously very proud of Chicago. And I love Chicago. I have investments in Chicago. But when you look at the crime in Chicago, when you look at what's gone wrong with Chicago, it's not a very good thing to be displaying right now.
I still think every election is about the future. It's about peace and prosperity. In this case, it would be about the border. It will be about the economy, law and order, the green agenda, America's role in the world. The one issue that pops almost at the top of every poll in the minds of Americans, well, really two, the border and the economy. Let's start with the border. We have nearly 11 million unvetted Joe Biden illegal immigrants in this country from nearly 180 countries, but many from countries that have terror ties, countries like Iran and Syria, Egypt, Afghanistan, Venezuela, Kazakhstan, nearly 60,000 from China in just the last 18 months, tens of thousands from Russia. And I worry that this is now a clear and present danger for the country, and that the likelihood that terror cells are probably already here is very high. I don't think I'm wrong. I pray to God that I'm wrong. I don't believe I am. And the media, Democrats, have ignored the issue, and they've allowed it to happen. And Biden and Kamala Harris and Mayorkas have all said the border's closed and the border's secure, but they brag about ending the policies that you had in place when they got into power. I think a preventable problem. I'm worried about our national security like never before.
Well, the one thing you haven't said tonight that you always say is that it's 100% certain that we're going to have a terror attack, and I agree with you on that. It's 100% certain. I mean, we're letting terrorists into our...
I pray I'm wrong. I pray
we're letting
God
terrorists
I'm wrong.
into our country at a level that we've never seen before. Terrorists are coming in, and they're coming in, Sean, from mental institutions and insane asylums. They're coming in from prisons and jails from all over the world, not just South America. They're coming in from the Congo and Africa. They're coming in from every part of the world. And some of these parts are rough parts of the world. And they're pouring into our country as prisoners, as mental patients. They're coming into our country, and they're coming in also as terrorists. And this is poisoning our country. and nobody should have been subjected to this. They should never have been allowed to do this. There's nothing good that can come of it, and we're going to have to get these criminals, and a lot of them are criminals and very high-level, very bad criminals. We're going to get them out. We're going to have the largest deportation in our history, larger than the Eisenhower deportation, and we have no choice. I don't want to do that, but this man has destroyed our country. And I say in rallies, I'm doing a big one tomorrow at Doral in Miami, I say at rallies that you could take the 10 worst presidents in the history of our country and put them together. They will not have done the destruction and damage as this man has done. He's been a horrible president, the worst president, frankly, the worst president in history by far. And by the way, Jimmy Carter's the happiest guy around, because Jimmy Carter now is saying, you know, I mean, he was like a genius compared to what Biden is. His administration was brilliant compared to the Biden administration. So it's a very, very sad time in our country.
Let me ask about the economy. I know that they said from the beginning that Biden's inflation, which they inherited 1.4%, it's up over 20%. 25% of Americans say that they've had to forego meals. 60+% of Americans said that they're gulping water because of Joe Biden's economic policies and Biden inflation. How do you fix that, and how quickly do you think you can fix that?
Well, we have to fix it fast, and what they're doing is the illegal migrants that are pouring into our countries, many of them are staying in luxury hotels all over our country. They're being shipped up, you know, as we say now, every state is a border state, whether it's Idaho or Iowa or Ohio. It doesn't make any difference. They're all border because they're pouring through our country. One of the stats that was incredible, I actually saw it on You First, was when they it came out that we're actually flying them in. So it's not just a question of these people coming through totally unchecked and unvetted. They're flying tens of thousands of people into our country, migrants. And many of these people were not people that were welcome to stay in their countries. They're coming up here. And when I originally said, I said, they are not sending their finest. These are people that are coming from other countries, Sean, where the president, whoever is running the country, including the dictators, they're sending them into our country. And if you look at Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. Their crime, think of it, down 72, and ours is up. And we're going to have a new form of crime because these people are just getting comfortable. They're just getting settled in. We're going to have a new form of crime, and it's called Biden migrant crime. And it's a new category. And it's a very serious category, and it might blow all of our crime out the window because, frankly, you could probably double. When I told you those numbers in Chicago with 17 people dying this weekend, think of it, over a weekend, over a 3-day period, 4-day period, you had over 100 people shot and 17 people dead. And that probably doesn't include the migrants, although I guarantee you there was some of that in there, too. We have a new form. It's this new category, and it's going to be very, very serious for a long time to come. And we have to get them out of our country. We don't want them out. They drop them out of their jails and prisons. We don't want them in our country. It's not sustainable by any country.
You know, it's amazing when you came down that escalator in 2015 and you said some are very good people, they want a better life, and then there are going to be bad people and there'll be murder and rape. It's unfolding. You know, look at Lake and Riley on down and young girls being raped in broad daylight. This young girl in Texas that was killed, the mother of 5. Let me ask you one last question, if I may. And I know this was last minute. Thanks for calling in tonight. And I want to ask you about your VP choice.
Come on.
How soon do you think you'll be making that choice, number one?
Do it.
Number two, we keep reading that there is a short list, and on the short list, we hear names like Senator Rubio, Senator Tim Scott, Senator J.D. Vance, Governor Burgum. Are those reports accurate? Are there other people maybe people aren't paying attention to? And when do you think you'll announce that?
Well, you know, we started off with a lot of people. We have a lot of good people. As they call it, we have a great bench in the Republican Party. The names that you mentioned, absolutely, they're under consideration. And I haven't made final decision, but I have some ideas as to where we're going, and a little bit, we wanted to see what they're doing, to be honest, because, it might make a difference. I don't know. I'm not sure that it would, but there are those that say Trump's waiting until he finds out what's going to happen with crooked Joe Biden, and we'll see what happens with Biden. But,
interesting.
I think probably within the next week and a half, probably sometime. I'd love to do it during the convention. My people say that's a little complicated. In the old days, they would announce the vice president during the convention. Today, with modern-day technology, you can't do things that you could have done 50 years ago very easily. But probably a little before the convention, but not much. It could even be during the convention that we'd do it. I'd love to do it during the convention. I think it would be a very interesting build-up and important for the convention. It would make it even more exciting. It's going to be amazing in Milwaukee.
If you announced it right now on this show, I think it would make a lot of news. I'm just saying.
All right.
Well, if I did it, I'd love to do it with you. But we'll be announcing soon, and I think everybody's going to be very, very happy. The choice will be very, very good. It's going to be a great vice president, meaning a person that can do a fantastic job as president, because you always have to think of that first. And then second, somebody that helps you get elected. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mr. President, thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much,
definitely,
John.
so definitely the most newsworthy part of all that at the very end is Donald Trump talking about his VP choice and saying that it's dynamic now. It's very interesting. Before the debate, Donald Trump was not saying that. Before the debate, Donald Trump said, I know who my pick is, and it's done. And now he's saying that it's dynamic and that he would like to do it at a convention, but he's not going to do it at a convention. He's going to do it earlier. Well, this is the only week between now and convention. Convention starts technically on Sunday for the Republican convention. And we're going to be setting up our equipment on Friday there in Milwaukee. We're going this week. So when is Donald Trump going to make that announcement? He has two events scheduled. One is tonight. One is this weekend. The reason why we play you, Donald, this is like sort of this is sort of like muscle memory for us. The media censors Trump so much, and they censor what he says, and they put gag orders on him and restrictions on him. So, like during the Donald Trump trials, whenever Donald Trump would go out and speak, we'd play all that without interruption and without trying to brick in our own personal biases or interjections, because everyone's trying to silence Trump, right? So this is kind of like the instinct is kind of like let Donald Trump speak for himself, right? So we're going to be doing that tonight. And that was quite interesting. So Trump's VP pick, he says, this guy's got to help me get elected, and it's got to be somebody dynamic. Well, okay. Does that mean he's not picking Doug Burgum? Doug Burgum. I don't know. I'm not sure. Burgum sounds like a I don't know, what does Burgum sound like? Sounds like a type of mosquito spray or something. I'm not sure. I just think RV, like an RV salesman. I don't know. It's not that I don't like him. Just I don't like him as vice president, right? A lot of very interesting picks, and Doug Burgum not going to be like the mantle carrier for MAGA and America First going forward. That's kind of what I want, right? I'm a younger guy, and then that's what I want. So we'll see tonight. Okay, we'll see. Doug Burgum is the Toyota-thon of VP candidates, says Klein. Yeah, all right, pretty good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we wouldn't go this long without one salty lib. Okay, we haven't salted anybody, and it's very sad for us because the salt must flow, and we want to be live for KJP. KJP is going to do another nightmarish press conference, so we think we want to be live for that actually. So let's salt a lib, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll move over to the coverage of KJP here after a short break. So here we go. Nicole Wallace I believe this is about vice presidents, right? This is about the vice presidential selection. Am I wrong here, ALX? Nicole Wallace, one of the saltiest libs that exists, somebody who clearly sleeps inside of a salt bath, inside of a salty coffin dead. All right, well, we don't know. We don't know Nicole Wallace. She just seems so. She's such a nasty person. Nicole Wallace crying on live TV about the RNC convention, about Donald Trump's VP, and about literally everything going wrong for her party. A reminder: this person worked for George W. Bush. Go.
Well, we have to fix it, right? We have a week. We'll do our part in these 2 hours because I think one of the places where we could sort of sleepwalk into old structures is next week. And I'm sure lots of people are thinking, I'll put up a Democrat and a Republican and we'll debate the Republican. That is not what this convention is. It is a showcase for a new era of American fascism. And so the people who should be on sets, and we'll do it here, but the people who should be on sets all across the country are experts in authoritarianism, because what the platform is and what the leader is not a conservative Republican. He couldn't care less about conservatism. He couldn't define it if he had to. He is an authoritarian in the making. And that is still, God willing, politically unpopular.
Okay. Yeah. He's an authoritarian. You know, he'll lock up his political enemies and stage a coup and rig elections and force you to get medical therapeutics and healthcare that you don't want, force you to take medicine you don't want in order to work and provide for your family and eat. He's an authoritarian. He'll open up our borders to 30 million people to come in here, and including the people that have connections to ISIS. Yeah, total authoritarian, so he can win an election. It's so tiresome. It's so exhausting. Serenity now. Let's do our verse of the day. There's always a good palate cleanser here, these people. Verse of the day from Romans 8:18. I love these Romans verses. I'm reading through Romans right now. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing to the glory that is to be revealed to us. We have suffered quite a bit, and every nation suffers quite a bit. There is, by the way, no suffering that good men and good women cannot endure. All throughout history, there has been horrible suffering everywhere on earth. This is not anything new. In fact, our sufferings are quite modest by comparison, depending on the era you're looking at. What stays consistent throughout all of that is obviously our faith in Christ, Christ is King, and our devotion to knowing that we are here on this earth to be salt and light, to read our Bibles and to be salt and light. That's why we like salt on this program. And it's why we keep it light, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be live a couple different times later today. We thank you again for subscribing. Here's the results of the poll. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like everybody thinks that Jill Biden is president and that Joe Biden will not be dropping out. So 35% and 35%. Doesn't matter. Jill Biden is president and Joe Biden will never drop out. So that's what I think too, by the way. I actually agree. Dual answers, I agree with both of those, in fact. There's no way you demand the Marines write you a song, a theme song, and then you decide voluntarily to leave power, to give up power. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. What is going to happen on this program is incredible memes, the dopest memes, the saltiest libs, and the most winning. And that's what we do here on The Benny Show. Here's your meme of the day. We hope that you march upright and victorious with us. See you soon.
Let me tell you the story I heard from a local state trooper about Joe Biden riding on the Air Force One Cooper. His days were numbered, nobody wanted him around, so he took his cash and went out like D.B. Cooper. Run, Joe, run into the Amazon, take your wife the crackhead, son. Maybe one day we find your fortune like F.J.B. Cooper. Join us in the hunt for truth and light. At the Benny Show, targets in sight. Run, Joe, run into the Amazon. Take your wife and crackhead, son. Maybe one day we find your fortune like F.J.B. Cooper. Join us in the hunt for truth and light. At the Benny Show, targets in sight. Run, Joe, run into the Amazon. Take your wife and crackhead, son. Maybe one day we find your fortune like F.J.B.